Hello, welcome to another episode of Glee on the Rocks. I am Emily.
I'm Mandy.
And today, for the first time, we have a guest host joining us for the recording.
I could not be more excited. Hello, I'm B, longtime listener of the pod, longtime refugee of the Glee fandom. I joined, Mandy and I were talking about this earlier. What year was that, Mandy? 2012?
Yeah, I think I did
2012?
join, like, we were talking earlier about, like, when we got into it. I think I did kind of start getting into the fandom between the seasons.
Yes, right. I remember us talking about this a long time ago. Yes, you got into it between season 2 and 3. I got into it like halfway through season 3.
You're late.
Yeah. Late, very late. People used to tell me all the time, they'd be like, you would love Glee. I was in show choir in high school. That's another thing. But
That's
yeah,
why
they're
you're
like,
here.
exactly. They're like, you would love Glee, blah, blah, blah. But I never watched it. That was before streaming was big too. So there was no way to like go back and watch old episodes easily.
Yeah.
But I started watching it, loved it. And then I started watching season 3 live. And then I was like, I want to know more about this. And so I remember I started like on Pinterest, like pinning memes, like Glee memes.
Oh no.
And I know, right? That's when Pinterest was real big. 2012, God bless it. And then I found out about Tumblr and I was like, oh, this is where the party's at. So I made a Tumblr and the rest is history.
And that was when it all went downhill.
It all went downhill. Glee was like my first big fandom and pretty much the only big fandom that I really was involved with on Tumblr. So I did the whole shebang.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, I think Mandy's had more on Tumblr fandom experience, but Glee was my first and only fandom that I was actively involved in on Tumblr because I was so burnt out by it that I couldn't.
It really was an experience.
Yeah,
that was enough.
Yeah. There are so many other shows and things that I want to be like involved in and invested in, and I just have to like do it from the sidelines because I can't do it again.
I mean, there is a lot to be said for doing it from the sidelines, so I might actually recommend that.
Yeah.
I am just a masochist who throws myself into everything.
That's fair, though, and we love that about you.
And we do.
So we're going to have you on this episode, and I guess we're going to see how many others that we can get you on, because it keeps me from talking through the whole thing. And that's
there was a part of my life where I would not shut up about Glee. Very embarrassing old Facebook statuses come up where I was talking about Glee. I was just the most embarrassing person in fandom at the time. So I'm really happy to make this full circle jump to like verbally processing that with you guys.
I mean, you have had some legendary YouTube videos, though. I'm not gonna like talk more about them in case you don't want to divulge that, but
listen, we can because my partner knows about them and she thinks they're hilarious.
But that's if you can tell them, then you can tell anyone.
That's right.
We should have an entire mini episode about some of the subjects that B covered in her YouTube videos years ago.
We can.
Yes. I was going to say I invented that. So like, so narcissistic, not invented, but I was definitely like one of the only, like, I'll put my face out there and I'll talk about Glee and I'll say what you guys are thinking, but you won't say out loud.
Oh yeah.
Embarrassing.
I was never going to. I'm going to hide this face the whole way through. Do you still go through your Facebook? Like I go through Facebook memories every couple days and just delete.
I didn't think about deleting.
Yes. Oh my God. You can go through and just delete status updates and shit that you are embarrassed by.
I really, really should. But you know, for posterity, they're there. So maybe we'll do we could do a mini episode of me dramatically reading all the dramatic Facebook status updates I made about
that would actually be amazing. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll keep them just for that.
Maybe Emily and I can find a few old Tumblr posts.
Perfect.
Just to yeah.
Yes. Just peak fandom cringe. I would love that.
Oh, it's
so subscribe to our Patreon if you would like to roast us for our former selves.
They could commiserate. Yeah, they could submit their like cringy old fandom things. I would dramatically read those too.
Hell yeah, anonymously too. Like we don't need to out you for anything.
Yeah.
We'll just send that anonymously.
Love that.
We're just going to start a Glee on the Rocks anonymous for any recovering fans.
Yeah, Glee on the Rocks anonymous.
There'll be T-shirts.
I love it.
Like a secret handshake. Well, I guess we can't have handshakes right now.
No.
There'll be secret elbow bumps.
Perfect.
So I guess we should actually talk about the episode at some point, because we could do this all day.
We could do this all day. You're right.
All right. Well, this is season 3, episode 2 of Glee, titled I Am Unicorn. It is the 46th episode overall and premiered on September 27th, 2011. So pre your involvement in fandom.
Apparently.
I'm going to read a much shorter summary of this episode because our good friends, the Glee Wikia, just went to town, and I don't have time for that. So Netflix's recap of this episode is Shelby Corcoran returns to the halls of McKinley High. Meanwhile, Mr. Schuster initiates a boot camp for some of the members of New Directions. That's it. And I appreciate the brevity, but also which storylines this thing wanted to highlight. Shelby and the boot camp.
Nothing else happened.
Nothing else happened in this episode, according to Netflix. So I guess I'm going to say that the best way we're going to get started today is B, thoughts, feelings? What did you think of this episode? And have you rewatched any of the other episodes up to this?
So when I listen to you guys on the pod, you really paint such a picture. When I was deep into my days of Glee fandom, these were the seasons that I liked. So, we know what's coming in seasons to come. So this was really kind of peak Glee. So these are the seasons I kind of used to rewatch probably, or obsess over, talk about a lot on Tumblr. So I feel like a lot of it came back to me very easily. Mm-hmm. Which is maybe disturbing. But
no, it's okay. I feel the same way sometimes of I remember this.
Yeah, it's kind of cringy that I remember it. But this was a great episode for me to be on because I am a huge Kurt fan. Kurt was the reason I got into Glee. Kurt was a big influence on my growth as a young queer person. Mm-hmm. And this was such a just Kurt's storyline, I guess, according to Netflix, is not A or B, but it really stood out to me as, the shining part. He looks good. He did interesting things. He had a solo. This is a Kurt lover's dream episode, honestly.
It is. And for it not being in the Netflix recap, it really is the A or B storyline.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, the campaign storyline. Yeah.
It's the campaign. It's the audition. It's what happened.
The episode is named after it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's gay bashing from Netflix, and we don't need to stand for it.
Homophobic. Agreed.
It is. Yeah, so I guess we can just kind of go through some of the big storylines then, and we might as well start with Kurt, because as much as Idina Menzel wants to lead this episode, her shit is just not that important to me. I would love to care more than I do, but as someone who is not a Kurt stan, I did like this episode for Kurt. Because I thought there was a lot of stuff in here that I was like, yes, that's what I want to hear him say to people. That's what I want him to stand up for himself about.
Yes.
So I agree. This is a good Kurt episode, because I don't know, even as a Kurt stan, sometimes his episodes are not that good.
There's a lot of sadness porn. I don't know what the right term is for that. With Kurt, they want to see him cry. They want to see him hurt. They want to see him lose, because Chris is just such a great actor and he does it so well. And he just sings the ballads so beautifully. And to see him, go through something that's kind of tough, but really come out triumphant in just one episode is pretty amazing. I can't really think of many storylines where Kurt gets that. So
I don't think he does get that.
You're right. He actually, he never gets to, quote unquote, win like that.
Yeah. And he really wins just by changing his mindset, just being I am good enough.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
For the character on the show who really got a lot of the positive press during and after about gay characters on TV and queer characters on TV and storylines that are really important and matter, it's usually Kurt.
Right.
And even though he gets all of that, he does get such depressing storylines so often. Is that just Ryan Murphy taking it out on Chris, or is that Ryan Murphy like processing some shit from his childhood? Because it feels like maybe a little bit of both.
I would say a little bit of both. I also feel like Ryan Murphy maybe has a little bit of a victim complex himself. And since Kurt was his self-insert character, he kind of wanted to be like
people were mean to me.
Exactly, yeah.
We don't like Ryan Murphy, if you couldn't tell.
Seconded. And the time that this episode came out too, like I remember it being so revolutionary that they even showed like 2 teenage gay boys kissing on TV, and this is not long after that. So like the narrative of like the sad gay teenager who like is bullied, it was the only real narrative on TV at the time. And I feel like they had a time trying to like, they didn't really come in radically with Kurt as like, this is going to be a different kind of gay character. He kind of was that like stereotypical gay teen at the time. And then they allowed him to be happy over time. So I feel like they kind of hold on to that too. Like they're like, no, being gay has to be hard. It has to be sad.
Yeah.
Not to be like too predictable here, but like I really think the fact that Chris and Darren hit it off so much that their storyline became so central is a lot of why any like of the good storylines Kurt got happened to him.
Yeah. Like if there had been no chemistry there, I think they probably would have just sent Blaine to the curb pretty quickly.
Yeah, or just like sidelined it as like, yeah, Kurt has a boyfriend, but we never see him.
Right, yeah.
He goes to that other school,
Yeah, just can't show any of that stuff on TV. You just imagine it's there.
Exactly.
But Darren got popular and sold a lot of songs on iTunes, and Ryan Murphy had a boner, and then suddenly Kurt and Blaine got to be on screen together.
Also, speaking of Blaine, I know we probably weren't ready to talk about him yet, but I wrote down, this was at the end of the episode, I was like, he literally had 3 speaking lines in this whole episode, but then got a full song solo. They did not cut it. It was the whole song top to bottom. The power that Blaine has. 3 lines, full song solo. Ridiculous.
Watching this like the first time around, I never understood the Blaine hate. I was like, what is wrong with you people? There's like a talented dude participating in a show about talented people. What is your fucking problem? And now rewatching it 10 years later, you're like, oh, I get it. He just kind of took over the whole show, didn't he?
They were like, we're giving him a solo, damn it. We got to sell those iTunes songs. Like,
ooh, sorry about that. We did win, didn't we?
It's Emily, we saw those eyelashes. That's what it was. It was the eyelashes in that song. And you're just heart melted. That was it.
That didn't even close up at the end there, and everyone was like, yeah, that's the show now.
He deserved that. Mm-hmm.
This is what we get.
Not sad about it, but it sucks to anyone who was a fan of literally anyone else on the show.
Sorry. All I do is win. I'm not going to hide that I love Blaine. And that's tied up with a lot of other shit that we can get into in one of our mini episodes.
Very true.
Where we speak a little more openly.
Love that.
Not that we're shy here. There's just stuff that we try to keep separate. Yeah. So Kurt gets a couple major storylines all tied together. He is running for student body president, and Brit has offered to help him with his campaign. He is also auditioning for the lead in the school musical, for better or worse. This was good. Yeah. So his campaign for student body president, he does not want to come across as too gay, which I think we can agree is a little hard for him. Like, everyone in the school knows. He's never really hit it before. But I also get, like, you're trying to win over a small town high school. Like, it's not Pete Buttigieg didn't win the campaign, now did he? Like,
yeah, it was really interesting because it was almost a measure of myself like 10 years ago and now too, because I remember watching this episode and being like, that's a little much. Like, that's a little over the top. And me now I'm like, yes, rainbows. Yes, equality flag. Like, yes, no hate. Like, all these references. Like, I love it. I literally wrote, like, I unironically love all the gay shit. Like, I have more rainbows in my house now than I ever would have as like a 17-year-old, 16-year-old in high school. So
that is kind of a good marker of how times change and how people change throughout from high school and beyond. Of he wasn't terribly comfortable with the gay diddly gay at the time, but then later he's like, hey, fuck it, this is exactly who I am. And I think that's something people needed.
It's a little bit like the shift in location makes sense with that, like not to jump too far ahead, but where Kurt ends up in the show geographically,
right,
I think would cause a lot of growth like that.
Very true.
Leaving small town, very important.
That's probably also where
New York City is super gay. I left. I don't have anything to do with it anymore. It's fine.
It's a little less gay now.
It's just a little darker, a little sadder. It's a little more locked down.
Yeah, a little bit.
Those poor people. So that's one of his main storylines. It is combined with him auditioning for Tony in West Side Story. He sings "I Am the Greatest Star" by Barbra Streisand.
Well, I'm miffed 'cause I'm the greatest star. I am by far, but no one knows it. Wait, they're gonna hear a voice, a silver flute. They'll cheer each toot. Hey, I hear it's terrific.
To try and really masculine it up for this audition that he is not. I'm not going to say we've all seen West Side Story, but I'm assuming most people listening to a podcast about a musical TV show have heard of West Side Story. Tony is the lead man. Doesn't really scream Kurt, does it?
No, not really. Though I did really love "I Am the Greatest Star."
Oh, it's great, yeah.
But no, not. Yeah.
I feel like in the song he did something smart. I mean, Kurt if he was a person, not the writers writing Kurt, but in like the scaffolding really did show off like his muscles and like his masculinity in that way. Like I feel like that was the most masculine part of the act. Not to mention the side swords at the end. I completely forgotten the side swords. I screamed. I was like, yes, Chris coming out with the talon. I was like, what? But yeah, the song, of course, is a song by a woman, not from West Side Story. Like, it did show a lot of range, which I guess is why the character may have picked it. Like, it sounds like an audition song. But yeah, I thought that too. I was like, why would you not pick a song by the character you're trying to play? He could have put himself in a better position.
Yes, it shows a lot of range. Although as soon as you mentioned the side swords, I was like, remember how people would get on Blaine / Darren for Blairin'?
right. And that's
I had forgotten how often there would be times when it's like, is this Kurt or is this Chris?
But remember, Glee is not a documentary.
Not a documentary.
I wrote that down, Mandy. I wrote that down. Glee is not a documentary. I thought it like 4 times this episode. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's really the key to the entire show, I think.
Yes.
Just remembering that.
And there's other shows that embrace that. Like Parks and Recreation is my favorite TV show. And every single character in that show is basically the actor. Like Aubrey Plaza, Nick Offerman. Like they are, they overlapped them on purpose because it brought more life to the character. And, like Glee, they just like didn't own up to it.
They didn't. And we can talk about why that is. Like, if it was an actor issue, if it was a too gay for Fox issue, if it was like, I don't even know what their real problem became with very obviously pulling in storylines and things that come from the actors' lives and then being like, no, this is a story.
Yeah.
Like, is it though? This exact thing that you just did right here? You really just put pink sunnies in here because it's just the character?
Right. They didn't sell pink sunnies at the Gap.
But it's Glee.
There are not. There are sunglasses at all. They really didn't want to live up. They didn't want to lean into the fandom of the show. And I really never understood why. Like they did one Comic-Con, maybe two, at least one.
Yeah, they didn't do the upfronts, but listening to Kevin and Jenna's podcast really reveals how little the actors were interested in that sometimes.
Which is like a shame because other shows do such a good job at involving their fans, but maintaining the distance. Like, I don't know why they were so terrible at creating a sense of fandom and community. Like we had to do it ourselves. There wasn't anything given to us. We kind of just had to create it, which didn't really work out for the show, did it? Like so many of the things that fandom came up with, they were like, no, we don't want that. Like, well, too bad.
Even the good things fandom had to like shove in their faces, like the charity stuff, like the boxing project.
Yeah. Yes.
Like fandom literally had to be like, look, we will give you money for good causes.
Yeah,
like,
just give us the fucking...
this.
Yeah. Like you don't even want to be a part of this at all? No? Great. And then like my go-to comparison for Glee when it comes to their interaction with fandom is like Supernatural, who have been doing conventions 3 times a year for 15 fucking years. And even if the actors hate it, they hide it.
Yeah.
And it makes everyone feel more involved. And that show has been on for 15 seasons. That is always my thought is like, how come some shows are so much better at their fandom than Glee? And I would really love to talk to... We could just do it off the air. We don't have to make it public. Just someone explain it to me.
Yes. Well, because it became like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like it was almost like the attitude was like fandom is like whiny or entitled, so we're not going to give them anything. So fandom became more whiny and more entitled because we didn't get anything.
Exactly.
It's like if you had just given us a little bit, like we went crazy off of like one. Y'all remember that like yellowed? It had like a yellow filter on it hallway picture. Chris and Darren in suits. You know the one from that one episode. And we were just like, what? And it was like the worst picture snapped on Ryan Murphy's phone and put on with some god awful filter on it. And people wrote and conjectured and talked about it for weeks. Like we were not asking for much.
Eventually they did sort of try to take advantage of that with the Gleek Out.
Right.
But like even that was done very badly and not as like part of the fandom.
That's some shit I want explained right there. What the hell was Gleek Out Brazil? What was that?
I mean, I think we all have our ideas of what it is, but yeah, I would love for someone to just be like, it was me. Like,
yeah.
Yes. And why Brazil?
I did it. Because it's funnier. Like, Gleek Out France really doesn't have the same.
Not as fun, yeah.
Not as exciting. But yes, his audition.
Oh yes, back to that. I could literally not watch the like Romeo and Juliet scene because I knew what was going to happen. I just skipped it. I was like, that is. It just didn't seem in character for Coach East, for Miss Pillsbury. Like maybe for Artie, he was kind of a dick at this point.
Yeah.
And Rachel just did Kurt so dirty over and over. And here's another case in point where earlier in the episode or last episode, she was like, we have to play like Tony and Maria. And then she's like basically helping sabotage his audition.
Yeah. But remember, Kurt and Rachel are best friends forever. Like, are they? Because they're terrible to each other over and over. And that is just another example. Yes. So, Kurt, I appreciate that for once in Glee, a character's story throughout the episode are all kind of connected. Like, all of his bits of story are about queerness tied with masculinity and what that means and what it doesn't mean and what it means for him and what it means for his dad and trying to pass or not pass and embrace your sexuality and your presence or not. And I appreciated that because so often those kinds of things are like a throwaway instead of really kind of being explored throughout an episode.
Yes. And Burt Hummel, Father of the Year, ad infinitum.
Always the best dad.
And this is how Bert stayed so good. He shows up for one scene, says some really nice things that we all love, and then they don't use him again. So it doesn't get like
you can't ruin him. Exactly.
You can't ruin him. Bert's just off fixing cars, living his life,
dropping amazing one-liners.
Yeah.
Like he said,
you sing like Diana Ross and you dress like you own a magic chocolate factory.
I love why couldn't Glee have gone with that humor more often? Like,
yeah,
it's funny. It's not insulting, obviously, because like Bert's point is like, yeah, that's awesome, own it.
Yeah,
but it made me laugh.
It does, yeah.
More of this and less of the Britney is dumb jokes.
Yes.
Although I did find it interesting at the very beginning of the episode when she says that she wants to be his campaign person, that she recognized that people didn't think that she was smart and that people were laughing at her in class. Because I think up until now, it's a joke on both sides, right? That like Britney's an idiot and doesn't care or doesn't even notice.
Right.
But
and I think that's why it bothered me so much in this episode, because I'm like, well, you just showed that it actually hurts her. So
yeah, it does.
That literally makes every joke you've made before like just bullying this character.
Yeah. That she's, I mean, it's not like she's not aware of the world, although sometimes they make her completely unaware of the world.
Well, this is kind of a turning point for Britney's storyline too. Like, obviously, spoiler alert for stuff coming up, but yeah, she really does like take more ownership of like herself and her place in the world in this season.
She does. I think Britney is going to turn out to be throughout this rewatch to turn out to be one of those characters that was really underappreciated at the time.
Yeah.
Not that everything that she does or anything, her stories aren't perfect, but every once in a while something happens, like in this episode, where you think, oh, there's some growth and development and it matters. And it's kind of cool.
Except she can't say the word bisexual. She's not allowed.
She's not allowed. Yes. Well, if she does, she'll poof into oblivion.
That's right. So
I heard that was science.
Got to keep it real nebulous. You guys have the little sound bite that's like, but it's Glee. You need one for Ryan Murphy.
Ryan. That motherfucker. I hope he listens and I hope he knows.
I hope he feels us talking about him.
Somewhere off in Los Angeles, like his like shaved head just prickled.
I mean, he's got nothing but free time right now. He would absolutely settle down with a pint of like vegan ice cream and listen to every podcast that might mention him.
Just Google searching his name.
I was about to say he probably has an alert when things come up with his name in it. He knows.
But it's old school. It's like a Google alert.
His RSS feed. I don't know how an RSS feed works, but I assume something like that.
I don't know either. That's beyond my tech capabilities.
Someone write in and explain to us how an RSS feed works.
Please explain. Well, tied to Kurt, as always, is Blaine, as it should be.
As it should be. You guys, Kurt's locker, when it opened up on Kurt's locker.
I know. It's all there. Like his locker just encapsulates like the Klaine fandom. It's the photo and the courage collage. Someone needs to explain where that. What, did Blaine give him a headshot? I don't understand.
Like the first day you met him too.
Yeah.
It's the first day. It's like, here's an 8x11 photo of me. Put that up. You don't have Instagram yet.
I like the theory more that Kurt just stole it from like a wall in Dalton.
Yeah, it's framed. Yeah, they just
exactly. It was like maybe in like the Glee room they had like a whole wall with the current members.
Yep.
And Kurt was just like, well, he's hot and I need proof.
He doesn't go to McKinley, so I need to put his picture up where I can see it.
Because no one else will believe me that this exists.
They'll all think he's from Canada.
Well, before we talk about Blaine, we should talk about the elephant in the room with Blaine.
Blaine's fucking bow tie?
See. Emily's so far in denial.
I know. Okay, well, we don't have to talk about it. We all know.
No, it's fine. Junior, senior Blaine.
Junior, senior Blaine. Well, he said this fucking casually. He's like,
except I'm a junior.
Terrible delivery. It's like, 1,000 hearts broke.
I know. I love that they had to include that too, because it made no sense that they actually had to say like, well, I'm a junior. Like, are you though? Because you look like you're in college. And also, you aged backwards. He Benjamin Button 2 years, because in the first time he appeared, he was a year older than Kurt, and now he is a year younger.
We should get into the timeline of this, because the Warbler, to throw it back, the Warblers say he's a junior member, but does that mean he's a junior in college, or he's just not a senior member?
We never really got the bylaws.
Yeah, we need the full Ryan Murphy, if you're listening.
Can we get the full bylaws of the Dalton Academy of Warblers?
Does he say, like, was he a freshman when he got, like, jumped by that guy? And
he never says.
Doesn't say. Just a Sadie Hawkins dance.
So, like,
Spoiler.
otherwise, then that was, like, 8th grade for him.
I mean, it could have been.
Which was, I mean, it would be horrible. That would, like,
that's even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is worse.
Don't do that to Blaine.
He doesn't deserve it.
Just like he doesn't deserve a bow tie the size of his head. The outfit in the choir room just bothers me.
All I noticed in the choir room was that they were sitting next to each other. You got to watch it this season, because this is one of the only times they sit together. It's the weirdest thing.
It is.
As someone who was in show choir with my little boyfriend at the time, fun story, we're both gay now. We always sat next to each other, regardless of what was going on. We used to move to sit next to each other, even if it wasn't convenient.
We can consider cutting this later. But do you remember, it was one of, I want to say it's the Michael episode, but it's not the Michael episode, but I can see it so clearly in my mind. But maybe it's the Saturday Night Glee whatever. One of the episodes, they're in the choir room, and in the behind the scene photo, Chris and Darren are sitting like on top of each other. And then in the episode, their chairs are like 3 feet apart.
Yes, I remember that.
Like, I can picture his ugly green pants.
Yes. Oh my God.
It was one of those, regardless of what your fandom is, the idea that the actors are sitting closer together than their characters who are dating. It's like, what did you
do? It's an issue.
It's a problem here. I can't. Leave 3 feet for Jesus? Like, what is going on here?
We got to start tallying, like, when Finn and Rachel sit next to each other, and when Kurt and Blaine sit next to each other, and when, like, Tina and Mike sit next to each other, or whatever. Like, we need, like, a proof. We need evidence that there's some shady shit going on.
There's something. Yeah, it can't just be. I mean, I guess maybe it can just be that it's like it's too queer for Fox, and they needed to sit farther apart. I don't know. But yeah,
it's like the choir room of all places, like the choir room, they should be allowed to sit next to each other.
Yeah, they're not going to like blow each other in the background. That's not going to happen.
I mean, you don't know what happened between takes.
That's true. It takes a lot of time between setups. That's why we didn't have any conventions.
No one could keep it in their pants.
No one could. Probably. Oh, anyway. Probably not. So Blaine has a couple scenes. He gets to go to booty camp, which for him doesn't mean anything because we all see those sweatpants.
He chooses to go to booty camp like a good team player.
He does. That's right. He is a team player.
Right.
And this is where he reveals that he is also going to be auditioning for Tony. Drama. Boyfriend v. boyfriend competing for the same role that clearly only one of them is really cut out for. But I guess, I'm such an anti-Blaine at McKinley person anyway that I appreciated that there was some sort of drama that they have to compete for the same role, I guess.
I feel like there was like a scene missing in the middle, or maybe this is just being in high school and not having a very healthy relationship yet just because you're young, but like they're in booty camp just like in the middle of rehearsal and Blaine's just like, oh, well, I would, if you want to play Tony, like, I'll play Bernardo or Officer Krupke, like, that's fine. And then at the end of the episode, they asked him to read for Tony. He put on his sheet that he only wanted Bernardo or Officer Krupke, but did a Tony song.
Yeah.
Mistake number one.
Mistake number one was wearing Tony's outfit.
That's true. Mistake number two, singing Tony's song with those damn eyelashes. And
when he put that mascara on, was like, this is for Bernardo.
Officer Krupke has voluptuous lashes, we all know. But like,
it really gets people to pay attention to him as an officer of the law, is to have stunning eyes.
But like, clearly there was no conversation in the middle where he and Kurt were actually like, okay, what do you want? What do you want? Like, what does it mean to you to have this role? Like, I don't know.
That is a long-standing issue with their characters' relationship, though, is that they are clearly missing those conversations. Like, can't we just talk about X, Y, or Z? But no, we have to just jump to the fight.
Yes.
Or whatever the fuck.
It's like vague conversation where people don't express their true feelings and then fight. Nothing in between.
And I don't know. I mean, I know there are Blaine haters out there because they suck. But this motherfucker, who is clearly quite talented and interested in this musical, was happy to just be a second or third lead.
Supportive boyfriend goals.
Supported boyfriend Blaine Warbler.
I do find that interesting that, like, Blaine was obviously, like, I can't use this term without, like, snickering in my head, but he was, like, the alpha at Dalton. And he's, like, trying to figure out his place at McKinley. And, like, kind of, nope, it's just going to get worse. Kind of a little bit submissive to Kurt.
Just keep going. It's going to dig a deeper hole. It's great.
But yeah, I kind of what you were saying about liking the conflict. I like that Blaine didn't immediately know his place. Like, he's got a lot of bravado, but when it came to Kurt, he still didn't exactly know how, much he should put himself out there.
Yeah, he's trying.
Mm-hmm.
He offered to go to booty camp.
Attention whore self couldn't quite help it. He had to do the song and kill it.
And they let him go past 32 bars, so that's not his fault.
The whole damn song.
He did the whole fucking song. Also, he did the whole song while we didn't even get to see Mercedes audition. We just heard that she did.
Yeah, what was that?
Why do you have to do Amber like this?
Yeah.
If anyone deserves a solo, it's her. She doesn't get enough, and she's amazing.
Like, could we not have cut out some of the Shelby, Quinn, Puck crap and just given it
just cut the fucking Rachel solo. They're a dime a dozen.
I skipped the Rachel song. I don't skip Amber when she sings.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And like, again, Rachel doing Somewhere is fine. It's great. It sounds good. But like, what was Amber gonna sing?
She can't sing I Feel Pretty. Glee already did that.
That's
last season.
That's a good cover though. That was a good one. Can't hate on that one.
So good.
That's pretty fantastic. And who was she auditioning for? Maria? Isn't that what she said?
Mercedes?
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't even say, but it doesn't back it up. It doesn't say like, oh, actually, she auditioned for so and so.
They say something because Coach Beast is like, I like that. She says, I like that Rachel's Jewish. That's kind of like Puerto Rican. And then she says, like, Mercedes, like, oh, she's also not white. That's good, basically.
Yep. Is that Glee, like, pointing at their own? We have non-white actors.
Guys. They have a Latina, though. Santana would be great. Maria. She doesn't even try out for it. I guess she's too cool to, like, be in rehearsal all the time or something. It's too cool.
Who does she end up being? She ends up being just
Anita.
Anita, that's right.
Yeah.
This I agree from what you said, I don't know, an hour ago or 2 hours ago, whatever time it is. Season 3 really is like
it's the season. It's the best one, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I get Sebastian and I also get Cooper.
Yes.
Like, I don't even care that he's retconned the fuck into Blaine's life. I don't care.
Who cares? Because he's fantastic.
Yeah. It's just choice. I made a little hand gesture there as if anyone could see that.
Was it like chef's kiss?
It was. It was, yeah.
I knew it. See? It translated.
It did. Perfect. Other stuff happened in this episode. There are two more, I think, key storylines. There is Shelby and her shit, and Skank Quinn.
Skank Quinn.
What are your Skank Quinn thoughts?
Skank Quinn pretty.
Mandy has exactly one thought, and you know it.
Yep.
The only one.
I don't know why I bother asking. I knew.
I like the pink hair. Obviously not a fan of the smoking, but
oh my god, it's so cool, you guys.
The aesthetics can stay, but they don't. Sadly.
I mean, to sum up the Quinn storyline, if we want to discuss it further, we totally can. But I just thought it was, the whole point of the episode was like, Kurt is hearing this, like, you can be yourself. It's okay to be yourself. You just have to, like, find the balance. Like, you can be gay and be, like, you know, subdued if you want to or whatever. You just have to figure out where you're comfortable. And I feel like Shelby was kind of telling Quinn that in a way, too. Like, she was like, you don't have to go straight from, like, the president of the celibacy club to Skank. Like, you can find somewhere in the middle that feels like you, and you can be yourself. Like, you don't have to be in this pressure cooker of like, I have to live up to people's expectations. But then at the end of the episode, she literally dyes her hair back blonde, puts the cross necklace back on, is wearing a white fucking dress like she's the purest angel. And I'm just like, that is not what you just went through in this episode. That is not symbolic of this whole growth journey you were supposedly on. Not that it was real anyways, but it just seemed very like, what?
I mean, we are firmly into Ryan Murphy just really hates Diana for some reason territory, and like none of her lines make any sense.
She just always resets. Like, she's just back to like the same person she's always been.
Yeah, it does. It's a reset on her, whatever growth she may or may not have had. Is just bloop.
And like, the growths are always like one episode long and just literally never mentioned again. Like that whole tragic history where like she was bullied for her looks in her last school and had to change her name. And then like this episode starts out with her like bullying some other little kid.
They just heap all the shit on Quinn. Like, she always gets like the wildest storyline, and her character never changes. It's just terrible writing. Not that we expect any better, but
no. Yeah, it is kind of like we're, you know, when you have like a serialized show, like a Chicago Fire 911 ER, those kinds of things, and they just pick one character to like have a car crash or get sick and die, and have all these just like their like everything that is tragic and big happens to Quinn. Like, gets knocked up.
Yep. Quinn just gets like all of them.
Paralyzed, like, Jesus.
Yeah. And like, I have a soft spot for Diana because she's pretty, but she's not a strong enough actor to make all of the shifts in character believable.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's a little hard to watch sometimes.
Sometimes. Most of the time. I don't know. I did appreciate, I mean, Mav's not here, so we can say all the nice things about Mr. Schue.
Oh, yeah.
I did appreciate that someone was just in Quinn's face telling her to grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because she really does play the victim.
Satisfying.
And it is funny. I mean, I don't know about you, B. We're all old as fuck. And it is one of those, like, oh, come on. Like, you're fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, Quinn's been through a lot, though. So on some wavelengths, I'm like, yeah. Like, I get... Well, it doesn't make sense that she lashed out at this point anyways. That's just Glee, though.
I think that's where it comes from.
She had a baby at the end of season 1, and now it's the beginning of season 3, and she's processing supposedly just because, like, she and Finn broke up, like, but they were always on again, off again. Like, I don't see how that would be this, like, catalyst to throw her into this sudden, like, breakdown that is somehow related to, because she turns into Skank Quinn way before she knows that, like, Shelby and Beth are back.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, like, it could have been a very interesting storyline if Glee wanted any kind of continuity, because, like, Quinn's parents kicked her out. I mean, a like former head cheerleader who dealt with teen pregnancy and is like, because she was living with Mercedes.
guess
Like, is she
not.
Mr.
single?
Schue brought that up, and I
Like-
was like, "Oh, way to bring it back!" Because he's like, "And I never even heard so much as a thank you." And I was like, "Yeah, neither did we."
Yeah. Did she say thank you to Mercedes? We don't know.
We don't know.
And her parents.
Like, watching a, like, formerly very privileged 16, 17, 18-year-old deal with, like, unstable living conditions, and I don't know where she's buying all these outfits at. Hair dye is expensive, but I guess her parents took her back in, but it's not like they ever tell us that.
Yeah.
Anyway, if they want to give her a reason to have a radical change in, like, attitude, that might have been it. Hey, suddenly Quinn has to shop at thrift stores, and
because her parents did come across as wealthy.
Yeah.
And
just
now she's
every storyline with Quinn is just so two-dimensional because they never like have the follow-through. Like they don't show that like her shopping at thrift stores. Like maybe she's stealing things because she doesn't have any money. Like maybe there's like something deeper here besides just like I'm gonna misbehave and like try and fit in with this crowd just to see how it feels or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it just falls flat.
And they did the poverty storyline with Sam, so like he got a bit more of that dimension, but not Quinn. They gotta just keep her like their little whiteboard. They can like swipe clean.
Yeah, they do. They the etch a sketch of her character. You just kind of give it a good shake it, and back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's not like it ever improves either.
Never.
No.
Sorry, Quinn stands.
It's just so sad. Like she deserved better.
I mean,
she did, because like you were saying, there's so much in there that would have made for really great television, and it just gets glossed over instead of explored.
She's just like their plot device always.
Yep. The MacGuffin. There's a baby. Like, is there? Does it matter? Who cares?
I mean, to be fair, that's my attitude for most baby storylines.
Well, I mean, what about Shelby coming back? Like, how do you guys think about that?
I had 100% forgotten that it happens. Because my memory of this episode was solely centered on Kurt and Blaine. So that when other things happened, I was like, what, did this happen the first time? And I just zoned out. Like,
I also forgot. Like, I remembered vaguely that she came back, but I really didn't remember any like.
No, I had no memory of that whatsoever.
I'm excited for the treble tones. That's the only thing I said when she showed up. I was like, oh yeah, the treble tones.
Yes,
they have some great songs.
Some good songs. Yeah, they got some good shit that's coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not remember Almada and Sugar and the whole shebang.
Sugar.
I remember Sugar because I did love Sugar.
She's hilarious.
I appreciate her character more now. At the time, I was like, you're taking screen time away from Blaine.
Now that you know, Darren ends up with all of
the
screen time.
Now that I know how it's spread out, then I'm cool with it. It's fine. Do whatever you want. I'll get him later.
Well, I love that Shelby comes back and she and Will have exactly one conversation for like a minute, maybe, that like just sets up her whole time in Lima and like why she's there. And he asks her like the most pointed questions so she could just get it all out there. And I was just like, oh, it's just so contrived to bring Idina Menzel back, which is fine because I think she as a person is awesome. But like she duetted with Rachel Berry for like a second. Like, at least give her a solo. They never do.
I know.
Why bring this Broadway legend? At least like Kristen Chenoweth always got solos.
Gwyneth Paltrow got solos.
Yes,
I mean,
multiple.
I was about to say, like, I would rather have Idina back than Goop Lady.
But her character, Gwyneth Paltrow's character, is so much more fun because she actually like gets solos and has like she has way more like characterization than Idina Menzel's character does, which is wild to say.
It's wild, especially because she's Rachel's mother.
Yes, and the mother and like the adopted mother of Quinn's baby. Like you can't get any more involved than that. So boring.
It was still boring, yeah.
Which, is a fucking shame.
Such a shame. Like, how do you fuck that up?
And then, like, why bother? Why cram it into this episode when there's... We've talked about this before, I don't know, consistently on this podcast, about, like, how the episodes either have way too much happening for one 42-minute episode, and then it just ends, and there's no continuation of a storyline that really needed a lot more room and a lot more air, or nothing happens.
Yep.
There's very rarely an episode that kind of just like flows along and everything gets time to kind of breathe and expand. And this was one like, why is this the time for Quinn's big thing and Kurt's big thing and like all this other shit? Because now there were only 3 songs somehow in this whole fucking episode.
Yeah, I was surprised when I reached the end.
No.
It was like, that was not a lot of singing.
Yeah, there wasn't even a song for like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, it took a long time to get to Rachel. Which, we could have seen the other auditions.
I feel like as I've been externally processing with you guys that I have seen that like they were trying to parallel like Quinn and Kurt's storylines to an extent.
Yeah.
Which is more clever than I thought they were being on first watch or even second watch, third watch, but
you didn't
right. I just now noticed it as we were discussing it, so not that well done.
It didn't occur to me. So
it's about being true to yourself and finding your own inner unicorn.
And Kurt does it, but Quinn fails at it.
Yes.
And then that takes them into the next episode storylines. That's probably the most connected I've ever recognized Glee being. So maybe that's why season 3 is the best season. Maybe.
Who was writing this? Who was trying hard? Somebody. Someone was in there.
Oh, but also on the subject of Shelby, like, fuck Glee for like setting up the storyline, like, oh, she's back in Lima because in New York City she was like, oh, a working mother can't have it all. Like, I couldn't keep up. Yeah.
That's annoying.
Ryan Murphy seems to have really bizarre ideas about parenting. And not bizarre, but maybe conflicted. I mean, he's talked about like his childhood, and clearly he has babies now and whatever. But there's like none of the parents are just fine. The parents are either Bert Hummel or they're Shelby. Like they're just kind of they're dichotomies of what parenting can be.
Right.
Like Blaine's parents don't even exist. Most of the other characters don't exist. But the parents that are there are extremes. And I don't know where that I don't know what the point. I mean, this isn't a show about families. It's not a show about parents, but a lot of the storylines include them. So you end up with Bert Hummel, greatest dad on the planet, and then you also get Shelby, moms can't have it all. Like, well, yeah, okay, they can. And what does it all even mean? Like, what are you even saying? What are you trying to say, Murphy?
Well, if we go back to season 1 too, so much of season 1's plotline surrounded like Schue and Terry, and like if she was going to be pregnant, and like there was some of like what he was going to be as a father, like kind of threads woven in. So interesting.
It is the things that Ryan Murphy wants to talk about in the show but can't quite do.
Right. He never like commits as much as he should have to say anything important. He never says anything profound. He like wants to and like builds up to it, but then like always falls short of like.
That's because by the time that he gets to that stage, he has 3 other shows in the works and has forgotten what he's doing.
Because, I mean, because just thinking, personally, I know we all can think like, you can literally feel the point of like quality decline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Unless someone out there loves seasons 5 and 6.
If you do, you're wrong.
And if you do, we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, I would genuinely, by the time we get there, love to have some people on the podcast that actually.
Yeah, I haven't even seen season 6. That's going to be the fun part.
When I went to Netflix to watch this episode, I found I had watched all but the very last epised. I didn't want to watch it. So
fascinating. The only one that I had seen was a screener like a week ahead of time of what episode was it? It was one that everyone was super fucking excited about. Oh yeah, it was the elevator. Yeah, I had a screener of that like a week ahead of time because work. So I watched that and then didn't watch anything else because I was like, well, this is weird. I don't know.
That's so weird.
I mean, I feel like that was the highlight of the season. So
like, I mean, there's a wedding. It's terribly done, but it exists.
I watched that in GIFs.
As you should.
That felt like enough for that one.
But
we'll watch it this time and be appropriately flabbergasted, I guess, by the quality.
I love that you guys are going into it basically blind. That's going to be fun for season 6. I'm excited.
Well, it'll be a nice dichotomy.
I watched some individual like scenes on YouTube that I wanted to see. I did see the wedding, but I missed it. Absolutely.
Yes. We know who we are. We know what we're about.
And that's right. You should know who we are too.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about this episode? Did you like it on just like a yes, no? Did you even like the episode? Cool.
I liked it.
I think
I'm trying to think how much I want to qualify that. I liked the Kurt parts.
I feel like that's exactly my answer too. Yeah. Like I didn't hate it. The other parts. I really loved the Kurt storyline. Yeah. The rest of it was okay.
I felt extremely uncomfortable when it got into certain storylines because it made me remember what's coming. And I was like, oh shit. I immediately just don't want to deal with that. And I'm presuming on this podcast, we are not going to spend a lot of time talking about certain storylines.
Instead, we're going to focus on the first time.
That's right.
Yes.
Because it's going to be great. Or it's going to be disappointing, but I don't think it's going to be.
In my head, it's fantastic. So
in my memory, it lasts for like 30 minutes. The first scene.
Just imagining that would also be the line of dialogue from Kurt and Blaine.
Oh man, the fandom around that.
Yes. That would be a very fun trip down memory lane.
There's some good shit and some really annoying shit because people suck. There are only 3 songs, but do you have a favorite?
I liked
definitely I Am the Greatest Star.
Kurt Stan too. Mine Something's Coming.
Something's coming, don't know when, but it's soon. Catch the moon, one-handed catch. Around the corner, or whistling down the river. Come on, deliver to me.
Because,
Blaine Stan.
Yes. You have to be true to yourself is the moral of this episode.
You know what? In this 3-song episode, Something's Coming was definitely my second favorite. So
exactly.
Unequivocally.
Yeah, exactly. These were easy to rank.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Do you have a favorite line that you can recall or wrote down?
Towards the beginning, Brittany just saying, I hate you after Rachel speaks.
I wrote that down, yeah.
Also, like, obviously we are providing some escapism here in this podcast.
Yes, I
About
wrote
the toilet
that down
paper
too.
shortage.
It was too real.
It
It was
was.
too relatable.
What timing?
Yeah.
This came out 10 years ago,
Too
but still too soon.
How dare you? I wrote down Coach Beast's line.
In college, I was in a funny thing happened on the way to the forum. I played the forum.
I was like, yes, that's the Coach
was-
Beast I want. That's the one for me.
You guys took a lot of mine, but I have two. So Artie said, I've developed my entire persona on conflict avoidance. And the way he said it just killed me. And then
I did like that.
And then after Kurt says, like,
I feel like I might as well have a big neon sign above my head that says, gay, diddy, gay, 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 gay.
I mean, you'll need a long extension cord, but I love it.
that was great too.
Yeah. That's another version of Brittany that I like. Just her like,
Yes.
yeah, okay. We
Just
can
with
do that.
with the snappy one-liners. I love it.
Exactly. And we already did the dude, you're gay. You sing like Diana Ross and dress like you work in a chocolate factory. Beautiful. So good.
So good.
I think for the first time ever, I have a least favorite line, and it's Blaine saying, and that's when I threw Netflix out the window.
It's just unnecessary drama. Like, that's all it is.
It is. That's true.
You know, Glee can't write a relationship unless they're breaking up and getting back together, or there's some other external challenge. Like,
yeah, it's not just like developing a relationship between two people. It's that there's conflict. Well, our Kevin McHale scale.
I mean, he's directing the
He did.
play,
He
so
didn't have any
had some
songs,
scenes.
but was that like a 2.5
yeah, I was gonna say a 2.5
for being given a personality? He wants to be a director. I guess that counts now.
And a couple of good lines.
He got to speak in this episode.
Yeah,
that's a bonus.
More than Tina Cohen Chang can say. So,
Tina or Mercedes
or Mercedes.
Well, the Klainedex.
Ooh,
there was no making out. That's a big.
But there were several scenes where they were together talking, and like Kurt was like watching him audition with that very beautiful fond look on his face.
Yeah, he was. He was jealous, but he was proud.
Yeah. Yes.
That I don't know. What are we looking at? Like a 6?
Yeah, at least a 6er. Yeah,
a 6er. This is one where they get negative points for there being times they probably should have kissed but didn't.
Mm-hmm. But it was very cute.
Maybe we should start ranking our bitterness scale for things.
The shoulda, coulda, woulda scale.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Is it out of what, 100?
Yes. Is 100 the most shoulda, coulda, woulda, or the least?
The most that were the most bitter, right?
We're the most bitter. Okay. This one was like definitely in the 60s, 60, 65. Like, because I feel like the Quinn storyline, ball was dropped. Like, Kurt and Blaine should have had at least one more conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I was more of a Quinn stan, it'd probably be higher. Because that was some bullshit. Sorry, Quinn stans. Sucks for you.
Sucks for Quinn stans a lot.
Yeah. They really got a bad rap.
I'm trying to think if anyone got it worse in this episode, but I definitely think Quinn was the most fucked over.
Oh, there's one to pick in every episode. Who is the most fucked over?
The recap is just going to end up being lists of things that happen.
That's fine.
It kind of is, yeah. Makes it a little more structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Quinn and then Kurt for the Romeo and Juliet audition. That was some bullshit.
Do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally skipped that too.
David.
Like, I knew coming, and I was like, no, I can't do this to myself. The life is hard.
Probably. They always make them act out like their worst insecurities and fears. It's a
really does.
Torture.
Absolutely.
Psychological torture.
Yeah, this was probably something that Chris told someone at some point during like lunch or something, was like, oh, I just really would hate to audition as like a mask, or some sort of comment.
Yeah, for the Glee is not a documentary moment, he was like, I gotta pass as straight to play the classic roles. Like, he said that to Bert. I was like, yeah. Just put Chris Colfer's insecurities just right on screen for everyone, because that's what a
a showrunner does.
It's good TV. It's good TV.
Good TV, though.
Especially for their
I know.
basically a teenage brand new actor who was only outed because of the show.
Ugh, that's a whole mini episode.
Talk about Chris all day.
He was so brave to come out. Like he didn't. He was outed.
Yeah.
The bravery came later.
Yeah. He was literally a baby.
Yeah. Don't do that to people. Well, I guess that's this episode. Do you feel like you were a unicorn at all? You are our first guest, so I guess that makes
I do feel like a unicorn, you know? Yeah. I don't know exactly what that means. What was Brittany's description of a unicorn? She was like,
well, when a pony does a good deed, he gets a horn and he becomes a unicorn, and then he poops out cotton candy until he forgets he's magical, and then his horn falls off. And
I feel that. I feel like I pooped a lot of cotton candy all over this podcast.
Great. That's perfect. That's really what we're looking for.
This was honestly so much fun, a pleasure and an honor.
Yes.
And it was interesting to watch Glee again. Like I said, I haven't really been watching as I've been listening to you guys discuss. But season 3, is actually a good one. I'll probably watch along and listen
a little more of it.
Yeah. To remember when things were simpler.
Do you get the cringy feel watching it, or do you kind of have a nostalgia? Because sometimes I have just a deep nostalgia for certain scenes that'll happen, or a song where I'm like, oh, that was good.
I think my cringe instinct with Glee is more about myself and less about the show at this point, for sure. Maybe in later seasons it'll be more about the show.
Did you identify more with it at the time?
Yeah, I feel like not to be too sappy, but Glee was really an important time in my life and came into my life at an important time, and I hate to see what became of it at the end. I mean, the cultural legacy is gonna endure no matter what. It just broke ground that monumentously. But I mean, Kurt Hummel was really the first gay person I knew coming from a small town in Alabama, the first out gay person really getting to see their life and stuff. It was just not safe to be out in my high school. And then like I said, since then, myself, my little 8th grade boyfriend, several other people have come out that I went to high school with, and I felt I started watching Glee and really getting to know Kurt in college and getting to know myself all at the same time. So these storylines, especially seasons 1, 2, and 3 really are, I think, still special to me in a way I didn't appreciate until I watched, especially this episode again, and thinking it's really powerful to see a gay teen character accepting themselves over and over again on TV and affirming themselves and other characters affirming them, and it not being easy, but them following through and appreciating that that's what makes them special. I just think it's so much richer than other storylines the show also purports, but those ones still resonate with me. This one resonated with me a lot in a way that I didn't anticipate before I hit play. So it was interesting to watch it now.
I think we definitely, as the kids might say, slept on how important some of these storylines were at the time. Because now our media looks so different. It's not enough, right? The queer characters on TV across the spectrum, it's not enough.
Right.
But we forget that this was 2009 is when it started. It was different. TV looked different. And it was a big deal to have a gay character who was more than the butt of a joke and then more than the murder victim. And that...
Yeah, and Glee did start a trend of that being
they really
an okay
did.
thing. As much as I don't like giving Brian Murphy credit for things, because of his popularity with Glee, even though it only lasted a season, he literally had a sitcom about a gay male couple on a network television show. Would have been great if it lasted longer than the season, but that does mean it got to
They never got the chance to ruin the new normal.
That's right.
So that'll be our next podcast. Our 6th podcast will be in defense of the new normal.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this was fun. I enjoyed this.
Great. I loved it.
actually getting to like talk to people that I knew on Fandom for so long.
Yeah, it's interesting to like be now years later, older, maybe wiser.
I was gonna say wiser,
maybe, and thinking about like why this show was important to us and what we can still like. There's still good things about it. Like it's kind of surprising me as I'm saying it. Like there's still good things that I can take from it, and that I can be like, oh, this was a good time in my life and a good thing that was on TV. And that can't be changed, even though we know it could have been so much better.
Yeah, because the flip side of that is that we can love it and still mock it mercilessly.
Yes. Glee really like, yeah, it really originated the whole, like, you can criticize the things that you love and that's okay. Like, yeah.
I think we all learned that through Tumblr and other social media. Like, no. We like watching the show, and we hate it. It's the same thing. They occur at the same time.
Part of the bonding experience of Glee was hating Glee with other people that also loved Glee.
Exactly.
Which is what this podcast is founded on.
It's a commiseration.
Yes, 100%. And, 10 years later, the feeling remains.
It does.
Because we've all been hurt by Glee so deeply, and yet here we are. It is free therapy.
It is. I really feel good. Like I just left a therapy session. I really do.
Wow. It's like a nice release.
It is.
Imagine how you'll feel after a mini episode where we talk shit.
Where we can really talk shit. Yeah. I'm so excited.
Well, that's the point of the mini episodes is being a little feistier.
Well, I can't wait to come back for as many as you guys want me to, because I'll talk about shit all day. So
more often than not, we have to be like, these are supposed to be mini episodes.
Well, coronavirus really freed up my schedule, so we're good to go.
God. Anyone listening, wash your fucking hands and stay home.
Stay the fuck home. Watch Glee.
Watch
Glee on the Rocks.
It's on Netflix.
We have how many backlog? Just go listen from the start.
We've got 2 full seasons of this already done. That'll take you 3 days to watch and listen to?
Yeah,
if you really binge. Like, come on. Stay home, wash your hands, stop going to spring break. It's not that cool.
It's not.
It's just really not important. Great. So we'll I guess that's this episode. We're gonna call it done, bro. Would you like to do the sign-off honors today as our guest? Not like they're honors, like we're not special, we're not important, but
I feel honored.
Great.
Yes. And that's what you missed on Glee.